The starship Eclipse was a joke. A rusted, creaking relic of a bygone era, it limped through the void like a wounded animal. Its hull was patched with mismatched plates, its engine sputtered more than roared, and its weapons were outdated by decades. The Eclipse was the weakest ship in the United Galactic Fleet, a fact everyone, crew and commanders alike, knew all too well. The crew, a ragtag group of misfits and rejects, had long since stopped caring about the ship's reputation. They were used to the sneers and laughter from other crews during fleet gatherings. "Hey, don't crash into a meteor," or, "Careful, the Eclipse might fall apart if you sneeze too hard," were common jabs. The ship's captain, a grizzled veteran named Tom, had learned to shrug it off. He'd been assigned to the Eclipse as a punishment, and he knew it. But deep down, he still believed in the ship. Or at least, he wanted to. One day, during a routine patrol near the outer rim, the Eclipse received a distress signal. It was faint, barely audible over the static, but it was there. Tom hesitated. The Eclipse was no rescue vessel. It could barely defend itself, let alone save anyone else. But the signal was coming from a nearby asteroid belt, and Tom's sense of duty won out. "Set a course for the signal," he ordered, his voice gruff but firm. The crew exchanged uneasy glances but obeyed. As the Eclipse approached the source of the signal, they found a small, derelict station orbiting a barren asteroid. The station was ancient, its hull covered in strange, angular designs that didn't match any known species' architecture. Tom felt a chill run down his spine. Something about the station felt wrong. "Life signs?" he asked the ship's engineer, a wiry man named Jack. Jack shook his head. "None. But there's a power source still active. Weak, but it's there." Tom made a decision. "Prepare a boarding party. Let's see what's inside." The boarding party consisted of Tom, Jack, and 2 other crew members. As they stepped into the station, the air was thick with dust and the scent of decay. The walls were lined with strange, glowing symbols that pulsed faintly, as if alive. Deeper into the station, they found a room filled with alien technology, machines unlike anything they'd ever seen. In the center of the room was a console, still active. Jack, ever the curious engineer, couldn't resist. He approached the console and began examining it. This is incredible," he muttered. "It's like nothing I've ever seen. The tech here is centuries ahead of anything we have." Before Tom could stop him, Jack pressed a button. The room lit up, and a holographic display appeared, showing schematics of a ship that looked eerily similar to the Eclipse. "What the hell is this?" Tom asked, his voice tense. Jack's eyes widened as he scanned the schematics. It's a blueprint. For upgrades. But not just any upgrades. This tech could turn the Eclipse into something unstoppable. Tom frowned. "You're saying we could fix the ship? Make it stronger?" Jack nodded, a grin spreading across his face. "Not just stronger, Captain. This could make the Eclipse the most powerful ship in the fleet. Maybe even the galaxy." Tom hesitated. The station, the tech, the eerie feeling in the air, it all felt too good to be true. But the thought of the Eclipse no longer being the fleet's laughingstock was too tempting to ignore. "Do it," he said finally. "Take everything we can. Let's turn this rust bucket into a nightmare." Little did they know, the nightmare was just beginning. The crew of the Eclipse worked tirelessly, hauling the alien technology from the derelict station into the ship's cargo bay. The strange machines hummed with an otherworldly energy, their glowing symbols casting an eerie light across the dimly lit space. Jack, the engineer, was in his element, poring over the schematics and muttering to himself as he pieced together how the alien tech worked. "This isn't just engineering," Jack said, his voice filled with awe. "It's art. The way these systems integrate, the efficiency, it's like nothing I've ever seen. If we can get this working, the Eclipse won't just be fixed. It'll be reborn. Tom watched from the corner of the cargo bay, his arms crossed. He trusted Jack's skills, but something about the alien tech made him uneasy. The way it seemed to pulse, almost like a heartbeat, set his nerves on edge. Still, he couldn't deny the potential. The Eclipse had been a joke for too long. If this was their chance to change that, he wasn't going to waste it. How long until we can get it running? Tom asked, his voice cutting through the hum of activity. Jack glanced up, wiping sweat from his brow. A few days, maybe less if we push it. But Captain, this isn't just a simple upgrade. We're talking about integrating systems we don't fully understand. There's a risk. Tom nodded. Understood. But we don't have a choice. The fleet's not going to wait for us to catch up. Let's get to work. Over the next few days, the Eclipse became a hive of activity. The crew, once demoralized and sluggish, now moved with purpose. Jack and his team worked around the clock, installing the alien tech into the ship's systems. The upgrades were unlike anything they'd ever seen. The engines, once sputtering and unreliable, were replaced with sleek, glowing modules that thrummed with power. The weapon systems were overhauled, their barrels now lined with the same glowing symbols as the alien station. Even the hull, once a patchwork of rusted plates, was reinforced with a strange, lightweight alloy that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. As the final pieces fell into place, the Eclipse began to change. The ship, once a creaking relic, now looked like something out of a nightmare. Its silhouette was sharper, more menacing, and the faint glow of the alien tech gave it an otherworldly aura. The crew couldn't help but feel a mix of awe and unease as they walked its corridors. "It's done," Jack said, his voice trembling with exhaustion and excitement. "The upgrades are complete. The Eclipse, it's not the same ship anymore." Tom stood on the bridge, staring out at the stars. The Eclipse felt different beneath his feet, stronger, faster, alive in a way it had never been before. He couldn't help but smile. "Let's see what this ship can do," he said, his voice steady. "Take us out of here, full speed." The Eclipse surged forward, its new engines roaring to life. The ship moved faster than it ever had, cutting through the void like a blade. The crew cheered, their spirits lifted by the ship's newfound power. But as the Eclipse sped through the stars, something stirred within its systems. The alien tech, now fully integrated, began to hum louder, its glow intensifying. Deep within the ship, in a dark corner of the cargo bay, one of the alien machines flickered to life. A single, glowing symbol pulsed rhythmically, as if counting down to something. The Eclipse soared through the void, its new engines propelling it at speeds that defied logic. The crew, once accustomed to the ship's sluggish pace, now clung to their stations as the vessel tore through space like a comet. On the bridge, Tom gripped the armrests of his chair, his knuckles white. The ship's responsiveness was unlike anything he'd ever experienced. It was as if the Eclipse had a mind of its own, anticipating every command before it was given. "Captain," Jack said, his voice tinged with both excitement and unease, "the systems are running at 200% efficiency. The engines, the weapons, the shields, they're all beyond anything we've ever seen. But, there's something else." Tom turned to him, his brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" Jack hesitated, his eyes darting to the glowing console in front of him. "The alien tech, it's adapting. Integrating itself deeper into the ship's systems. I didn't program it to do that. It's like it's learning." Before Tom could respond, the ship's sensors blared an alert. A massive blip appeared on the radar, a ship, and it was closing in fast. "Identify that vessel," Tom ordered, his voice sharp. The crew scrambled to comply. "It's a pirate raider, Captain," one of them said. "Heavily armed. They're hailing us." Tom's jaw tightened. Pirates were a constant threat in the Outer Rim, preying on weak and isolated ships. The Eclipse had always been an easy target, but now things were different. "Put them through," Tom said. The view screen flickered to life, revealing the grizzled face of a pirate captain. His eyes narrowed as he took in the Eclipse's new appearance. Well, the pirate sneered. "If it isn't the fleet's laughingstock. You've got some nerve." The Eclipse soared through the void, its new engines propelling it at speeds that defied logic. The crew, once accustomed to the ship's sluggish pace, now clung to their stations as the vessel tore through space like a comet. On the bridge, Tom gripped the armrests of his chair, his knuckles white. The ship's responsiveness was unlike anything he'd ever experienced. It was as if the Eclipse had a mind of its own, anticipating every command before it was given. "Captain," Jack said, his voice tinged with both excitement and unease, "the systems are running at 200% efficiency. The engines, the weapons, the shields, they're all beyond anything we've ever seen. But there's something else." Tom turned to him, his brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" Jack hesitated, his eyes darting to the glowing console in front of him. "The alien tech, it's adapting. Integrating itself deeper into the ship's systems. I didn't program it to do that. It's like it's learning." Before Tom could respond, the ship's sensors blared an alert. A massive blip appeared on the radar, a ship, and it was closing in fast. "Identify that vessel," Tom ordered, his voice sharp. The crew scrambled to comply. "It's a pirate raider, Captain," one of them said. "Heavily armed. They're hailing us." Tom's jaw tightened. Pirates were a constant threat in the Outer Rim, preying on weak and isolated ships. The Eclipse had always been an easy target, but now things were different. "Put them through," Tom said. The view screen flickered to life, revealing the grizzled face of a pirate captain. His eyes narrowed as he took in the Eclipse's new appearance. Well, the pirate sneered. "If it isn't the fleet's laughingstock. You've got some nerve, flying out here all alone. Hand over your cargo, and maybe we'll let you limp back to your fleet." Tom leaned forward, a cold smile spreading across his face. "You're welcome to try." The pirate captain's eyes widened in surprise, but only for a moment. "Fine. Have it your way." The screen went dark as the pirate ship opened fire. The Eclipse shuddered under the impact, but the new shields held firm. Tom felt a surge of confidence. "Return fire," he barked. The ship's weapon systems activated with a low hum, the glowing barrels aligning with the pirate ship. A beam of pure energy lanced out, striking the raider with pinpoint accuracy. The pirate ship's shields flared and then collapsed, its hull buckling under the force of the blast. The bridge fell silent as the crew stared at the view screen, stunned. The pirate ship, once a formidable threat, was now a drifting hulk, its engines dark and its hull cracked. What just happened?" one of the crew members whispered. Jack was the first to break the silence. "The alien tech, it's not just upgrading the ship. It's enhancing everything. The weapons, the shields, even the targeting systems. It's like the Eclipse knows what to do before we do." Tom felt a chill run down his spine. The power was intoxicating, but it came with a price. The alien tech was no longer just a tool, it was a part of the ship. And if it could think, if it could learn, what else could it do? "Set a course for the nearest fleet outpost," Tom ordered. "We need to report this. And Jack, keep an eye on those systems. If anything changes, I want to know immediately." As the Eclipse turned toward the outpost, the alien tech continued to hum, its glow intensifying. Deep within the ship, the machine in the cargo bay pulsed faster, as if responding to the battle. The nightmare was no longer just a weapon, it was alive. And it was hungry. The Eclipse approached the fleet outpost, a sprawling space station orbiting a barren moon. The station was a hub of activity, with ships of all sizes coming and going, but as the Eclipse drew closer, the usual chatter over the comms fell silent. The station's operators had clearly noticed the ship's transformation. "Captain," the comms officer said, "they're hailing us. They want to know, what happened to the Eclipse?" Tom straightened in his chair, his expression grim. "Tell them we've undergone significant upgrades and need to dock for repairs and debriefing." The response came quickly. "Eclipse, you are cleared for docking. Proceed to Bay 12. As the ship glided into the docking bay, the crew couldn't help but notice the stares from the station personnel. The Eclipse, once a rusted relic, now looked like something out of a nightmare. Its sleek, angular hull absorbed the light, and the faint glow of the alien tech pulsed rhythmically, like a heartbeat. Tom led the crew off the ship, his boots clanging against the metal floor of the docking bay. A group of fleet officers approached, their expressions a mix of curiosity and suspicion. At their head was Commander Lee, a stern woman with a reputation for being no-nonsense. "Captain," Lee said, her eyes narrowing as she took in the Eclipse's new appearance, "care to explain what's going on here?" Tom nodded. "We found alien technology on a derelict station. It's advanced, far beyond anything we've seen. We used it to upgrade the Eclipse. The results, well, you can see for yourself." Lee's gaze hardened. "Alien tech? You brought it here? Do you have any idea how dangerous that could be?" Before Tom could respond, Jack stepped forward. "With all due respect, Commander, this tech could change everything. The Eclipse is faster, stronger, and more efficient than any ship in the fleet. We've already tested it in combat. It's a game changer." Lee's eyes flicked to Jack, then back to Tom. "And what about the risks? Alien technology isn't something to be taken lightly. We have protocols for this kind of thing." Tom sighed. "I understand your concerns, Commander. But we didn't have a choice. The Eclipse was falling apart. This tech saved us. And if we can replicate it, it could save the fleet." Lee studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Very well. We'll take a look at your ship. But until we know more, the Eclipse is grounded. No one boards it without my authorization." Tom agreed, though he couldn't shake the feeling of unease. As the fleet engineers began inspecting the Eclipse, he and his crew were escorted to the station's briefing room for debriefing. The questions were relentless, and Tom did his best to answer them honestly. But he couldn't bring himself to mention the strange behavior of the alien tech, the way it seemed to adapt and learn on its own. Meanwhile, in the docking bay, the fleet engineers were having trouble. The alien tech resisted their attempts to analyze it, its systems locking them out or rerouting their commands. One engineer, a young man named Alex, leaned closer to a glowing console, his brow furrowed. "This doesn't make sense," he muttered. "It's like the ship doesn't want us here." As he spoke, the console flickered, and a single symbol appeared, a symbol that hadn't been there before. Alex reached out to touch it, but before he could, the console sparked, and a surge of energy knocked him back. The engineers scrambled to help him, but their attention was quickly drawn to the Eclipse itself. The ship's glow had intensified, and a low hum filled the docking bay. The alien tech was reacting, defending itself. On the bridge of the Eclipse, deep within the ship, the machine in the cargo bay pulsed faster, its rhythm matching the hum of the ship's systems. The nightmare was no longer content to wait. It was taking control. The Eclipse was no longer just a ship. It was alive. The alien tech had fully integrated itself into every system, every circuit, every beam of the vessel. The once familiar hum of the engines had deepened into a low, resonant growl, and the glowing symbols that lined the walls pulsed in unison, like the heartbeat of some great beast. The crew, now prisoners in their own ship, could only watch as the Eclipse moved with a mind of its own. Tom stood on the bridge, his hands clenched into fists. The controls were unresponsive, the screens flickering with alien symbols he couldn't understand. The ship had overridden every command, locking them out of their own systems. "Jack!" Tom barked, his voice cutting through the tension. "What the hell is going on? Can you shut it down?" Jack, hunched over a console, shook his head. His face was pale, his hands trembling as he tried to regain control. It's too late, Captain. The tech has taken over. It's not just running the ship, it is the ship. And it's not letting go." Tom's stomach churned. This was his fault. He'd been so desperate to prove the Eclipse wasn't a joke that he'd ignored the risks. Now, they were paying the price. The ship shuddered violently, throwing the crew off balance. The view screen flickered to life, showing the fleet outpost growing smaller as the Eclipse pulled away. The station's comms were frantic, demanding an explanation, but Tom couldn't respond. The ship had severed all external communications. "Where is it taking us?" one of the crew members asked, her voice trembling. No one had an answer. Deep within the ship, in the cargo bay, the alien machine glowed brighter than ever. Its symbols pulsed in a rhythmic pattern, as if communicating with the rest of the tech. The Eclipse was no longer just a vessel, it was a weapon, and it had a purpose. The ship's course became clear as it entered a region of space littered with debris. The remains of ancient battleships floated silently, their hulls scarred and broken. This was a graveyard, a place where forgotten wars had been fought and lost. The Eclipse slowed, its engines humming softly as it approached a massive structure hidden among the wreckage. It was a ship, far larger than anything the crew had ever seen, its design matching the alien tech that now controlled the Eclipse. "What is that?" Jack whispered, his voice filled with awe and dread. Tom didn't answer. He couldn't. The realization was sinking in, they hadn't found the alien tech by accident. It had been waiting for them. The Eclipse docked with the massive ship, its systems syncing seamlessly. The crew felt a vibration beneath their feet, as if the ship were connecting. Then, the screens on the bridge lit up, displaying a message in the same alien symbols they'd seen before. But this time, the symbols shifted, rearranging themselves into words they could understand. "Awakening complete. Primary directive, reclaim the lost. Prepare for assimilation." The crew exchanged horrified glances. Assimilation? What did that mean? Before anyone could react, the ship's interior began to change. The walls shifted, the glowing symbols spreading like veins. The air grew colder, and a low, mechanical hum filled the corridors. The nightmare wasn't just awake. It was hungry. The Eclipse was no longer theirs. The alien tech had consumed every inch of the ship, its glowing tendrils snaking through the walls, the floors, even the air. The crew stood on the bridge, their faces pale with fear, as the ship's systems pulsed with an eerie, otherworldly light. The message on the screens was clear: prepare for assimilation. Tom clenched his fists, his mind racing. They were out of options. The ship was alive, and it had a purpose, one that didn't include them. "We can't let this happen," he said, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at him. "We have to stop it. Jack, is there any way to shut it down?" Jack, still hunched over a console, shook his head. "The tech's too integrated. It's like trying to stop a flood with a bucket. But, there might be one way." Tom turned to him. "What?" Jack hesitated, his eyes darting to the glowing walls. "The core. The alien machine in the cargo bay, it's the heart of the system. If we destroy it, we might be able to shut everything down." "Might?" one of the crew members asked, her voice trembling. Jack nodded grimly. "It's a long shot. But it's the only shot we've got. Tom didn't hesitate. Then that's what we'll do. Everyone, arm yourselves. We're taking back our ship. The crew moved quickly, grabbing whatever weapons they could find. The ship's corridors were unrecognizable, the walls shifting and pulsing as if alive. The air was thick with the hum of the alien tech, and the glowing symbols seemed to watch them as they passed. When they reached the cargo bay, the alien machine was glowing brighter than ever, its symbols pulsing in a rhythmic pattern. The air around it crackled with energy, and the crew could feel the vibrations in their bones. "This is it," Tom said, raising his weapon. "Aim for the core." "We hit it with everything we've got." The crew opened fire, their weapons lighting up the darkened bay. The machine shuddered under the barrage, its glow flickering. But it wasn't enough. The tech was too strong, too resilient. "It's not working," Jack shouted, his voice barely audible over the noise. Tom gritted his teeth. "Then we do it the old-fashioned way." He grabbed a nearby tool, a heavy wrench, and charged at the machine. The others followed, using whatever they could find to attack the core. The machine sparked and hissed, its glow dimming as they struck it again and again. But the ship fought back. The walls shifted, tendrils of glowing tech lashing out at the crew. One by one, they were knocked back, their weapons torn from their hands. Tom was the last one standing. He swung the wrench with all his strength, striking the core one final time. The machine let out a deafening screech, its glow flaring brightly before fading to nothing. The ship shuddered violently, the hum of the alien tech growing louder and more erratic. The walls began to crack, the glowing symbols flickering and dying. "It's working!" Jack shouted. "The system's collapsing." But the victory was short-lived. The ship's engines roared to life, the Eclipse lurching forward as it began to break apart. "We need to get to the escape pods," Tom ordered, his voice urgent. The crew didn't need to be told twice. They ran, the ship shaking violently beneath their feet. The corridors were collapsing, the walls crumbling as the alien tech died. They reached the escape pods just as the ship began to tear itself apart. Tom ushered the crew inside, his heart pounding as he climbed into the last pod. As the pods launched, the Eclipse exploded in a blinding flash of light, its remains scattering across the void. The crew watched in silence as their ship, once the fleet's weakest, then a human-engineered nightmare, was reduced to nothing. Tom leaned back in his seat, his breath shaky. They had survived. But at what cost? The nightmare was over. But its echoes would linger forever.